it's nice to have no crowd over here, but usually. So usually from the chronological order, but our tour is not in chronological order anyway. Okay. The name of this church is Peter's Primacy Church, and very soon we'll explain why. The more famous name of it will be Tabgha, which Tabgha, it's an Arabic distribution of the Greek word heptagon, which means seven, or the place of the seven. But the original name in Hebrew is Ein Sheva. Sheva, Ein will be both an eye and a spring. Two meaning, an eye and a spring. Sheva will be seven, but also an oath. It's the only language in the world that the number seven means an oath. So Beersheba, you remember Isaac and Abraham? It's the place of the seven wells, but also the place where Abraham made an oath. So we're going to comment about this later as well.
I always thought it was the place of 7 beers, yeah.
In your youth.
So this place is Ein Sheva, the place of the seven springs. Why? Because there are 7 springs over here. And this is where Jesus met the first disciples. Come with me, leave your nets, I'll make you fishermen of men. So, this is one of the 2 best fishing areas around the Sea of Galilee. Remember, we already said the archaeologists discovered, yes, 1986, the water was so shallow, and the archaeologists discovered 14 fishermen piers all around the Sea of Galilee. 7 out of the 14 were found here. Why it was so good for fishing, and that's bring us to another event that happens over here. Remember the miraculous fishing after his resurrection, when they caught nothing all night? So some of those springs have warmish water. Remember, volcano, tectonic plate, hot spot. So those warmish water flow all year round. And when it's super cold in the winter time, you have those tropical fish, the local tilapia. If they want to survive the winter, they must come over here to enjoy the warmish water. It's too cold for them. It's tropical fish. Okay? And that's a great opportunity for the fishermen to connect all their nets together, to make a big crown, and to cast their nets in the middle and to catch as much as they can. So that's where, according to the tradition, where Jesus met his first disciples, and according to the tradition, that's also where he last met them. You remember? I will meet you at the Galilee, and he prepared the breakfast by the sea. They were working all night, yes?
Yes.
The nets today are transparent from plastic, but the nets back then were made out of linen, and the fish could see it in the daytime. So all fishing was in the nighttime, and the breakfast, it's not because they just woke up and had breakfast, because they ate the whole night. They worked the whole night, and they saw him, and he prepared the breakfast by the sea for them. Okay? Now, before we continue, I also want to point out here, that was the agricultural area. Remember the delta that we saw? It was also the fishermen's suburb of Capernaum, but it was also the industrial area. Back then, Roman time, the only source of energy was slaves or animal power.
I got it.
The other source of energy was the power of water. They took those spring water, accumulated them on a lifting pools, and let the water run on a channel, falling through a narrow chimney. Yeah, it's wide on the top and narrow at the bottom, just like the windmills that you have in America. Okay, so this is a water mill, and they use the power of water to sculpture the basalt rock. So they put the rock on a lathe, and they use the power of water. And by the way, we found this at Metzada, we found this at Jerusalem. So in Jerusalem, if you want to grind your flour, you do it on a rock that was manufactured here at the Galileo Capernaum, because they had no basalt in Jerusalem. So we found, okay, you put it in a donkey, you sell it in Jerusalem. I got one at home. This trail, it's exactly where used to be the fisherman pier. Okay, so imagine the fisherman pier, and this is where it's ended. Actually, if you look over there, you can see the stairs. The name of those stairs is the Holy Stairs, Scala Santa. And if you look at the bottom of those stairs, you can see the marks of water. Can you see that? I don't believe you. How about that? Look at this. Okay, can you see the ancient stairs? That's going back to Jesus' time. Yes, no, yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly, right there. Now look at the bottom. Yes? Yes. You can see the marks of water. And more down in the water. You wait. Okay? So when I'm trying to today. And those stairs were actually leading the people into the boat.
Oh,
Really?
You remember the fishermen were not just fishermen, they were also transporting people and merchandise from one side of the lake to the other. Yes, so again, if you were talking about this is the A, B, or C side, so it's a B side. We have no proof that this is where Jesus met the first disciple. But when you read the scriptures, yes, the best fishing area, fisherman pier, the stairs that lead to the boat, yes, right next to Capernaum, like the suburb of Capernaum. So for me, it feels super authentic. And the name of this church over here is called Christ Table.
Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." The third time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, When you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted, but when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, "Follow me."